How can a single unit be able to dominate everything on the ground and be balanced? Upgrades don't matter to it. Army size doesn't matter to it. I did some good early damage, had decent macro for my level. I was ahead in upgrades. He nearly crumbled to my timing attack. Yet, on defense and offense, just because of the Lurker, he wins the game. I feel robbed. I had full control of the game for the longest time, but as soon as this one unit comes out, my entire lead goes up in smoke. I only get a few games a day after work, but seriously, losing like this repeatedly is crushing my soul. Lurkers are not honorable, and I hope everyone that wins like this feels bad. Now, all that there is left to answer is this unit just IMBA, or do I suck and should consider retiring? Name, Go To You Death, Race Protoss, League Master, 4.3k MMR on the European server. And the question is very simple. Is the Lurker IMBA or does he suck? And we're here to find out. All right, here we go. Tropical Sacrifice, Go To You Death versus a Zerg Barcode player. And this Zerg Barcode player is starting with... this is not an ideal hedge timing. This is usually we don't criticize the people that don't send in the replay, but this is not it. My man Zerg over here built a hatchery at 19 supply while floating 200 minerals on top of the already 300 that he was having in the bank to build the hatchery, which means he could have built a pool first and then a hatchery. The pool would have been like what, 40 or 30 seconds faster than now. And the hatchery would have still been at the same time, or even earlier, because usually you're not even supposed to do any of this at 19 supply. A hatchery usually at the natural goes down at 16 supply, and if you build it at the third base at 17 supply. But for whatever reason, everything got delayed. You know, Zerg player got a little bit greedy, like Zerg players usually do. And well, now we're going for some triple hatch as well. 20 hatch on the third base. This is not a very good build. But we're not here to look at the Zerg player, of course. We're here to look at Go To You Death, who also reinvents the early game of the Protoss. Look at this. Completely unique game. I often mention chess. And for the people that don't know, in chess, whenever a game hasn't been played before, isn't in the database yet, they usually call it a completely unique game. So for example, someone plays like a pawn to, I don't know, like e4 or something, and then they play some pawn moves, and then boom, all of a sudden a knight moves like an idiot. Boom, it's a unique game like that. Now this game, if you compare it to chess, would be more like if, you know, both players use the first pawn and then the second guy takes out a flamethrower and burns the chessboard. Technically it's a completely unique game, but also this isn't entirely the way that chess is supposed to be played. And that's the same that we're seeing here. Like, this cybernetics core legitimately just finished, what was this, like 45 seconds too late? I'm not even quite sure how that is possible, but I think this core went down at 23 supply after a second pylon and a second assimilator, which just delays your tech for no real reason. So I don't really quite get it, but oh wow, Fast Forge as a follow-up as well, right in vision. That is just beautiful. It really wants to rush out those cannons, I guess. Also has filled the wall here at the front. Did he say that he had a good early game? I recall reading that he felt that his early game was decent and that his opponent almost crumpled under the pressure. You know, let's have a look at this early game then. Adept coming in. What is this build order? This is a true abomination. Good lord. Forge Twilight before third. Single Void Ray. Did he lose his Adept yet? No, went back home. Single Void Ray. Into Forge Twilight pre-third base. And then a second gate that isn't in the wall, but a Stargate that is in the wall. So whenever a Zerg wants to, they can scout what Stargate units you're building. I don't think a single thing so far in this game has been correct, which is kind of surprising because this is 4.3k. But this build order actually is giving me big bronze vibes. This Nexus is delayed by a solid 40 seconds. So it's not like he got a better eco by delaying his tech for also 40 seconds. We're just delaying everything by 40 seconds, I guess. Maybe it's a little bit slow. There's only one person that's going to be happy with the 40 second delay, and that's going to be his girlfriend. But everyone else is just kind of confused. Overlord is gonna get taken out. No. Oh, wait. He already used the prismatic alignment earlier. I guess on an earlier Overlord. Interesting call. We're now getting this third base. Oh, battery position as well. It's not really covering the mineral line at all. Usually you build a pylon over here and battery in the mineral line. And you cover and the mineral line. And you cover the units that are in between your pylon and the nexus. And on top of that, it makes it really easy for you to make like a semi-wall over here. Or a full wall in this general area. But so far none of that is happening yet. What is the follow-up? Okay, we're working off of 2 gases. 2 gas. What's this? 6 gate? 5 gate. 2 gas, 5 gate. Still no wall, which is impressive. So at any point the Link Flood would have killed. How did this Void Ray get this much damage on? I kind of hope that it dies because it really doesn't deserve this much damage. Just wanted to see this move again because this is one that astounds me. So he looks at this Void Ray right now. Microing the Void Ray, microing the Void Ray. Warping in Zealots. Moving it back. 1. Okay, you see the attack right now. That was at 541 on the minimap. We saw it. When does he realize? Does he look over? Or did he realize already? Or is he still waiting for his Void Ray to come on? I'm not sure if he knows that his Void Ray just died. It is so difficult sometimes. Maybe he just thinks it's in the corner or something. These 2 queens never should have gotten that kill. But I'm quite happy with it. Now, let me just punch this build a little bit more. Because this makes absolutely no sense. This is poor eco and also a poor attack. We're going for a +1 charge timing. Which is going to hit at a regular timing of a charge-lot Archon timing. That can be done with 2 oracles. This was done with a single Void Ray. And that build would also have better eco. It would have 6 gas already. 66 probes most likely. Maybe 1 less gateway. But we'd also already have 2 Archons. And with that type of push, you 100% would win the game. Honestly, with this push, you're also 100% gonna win the game. Because your opponent literally has no units whatsoever. There's currently 5 queens and 4 links out. There are, what is this? 11 zealots with +1. This is completely game. Like, this is 100% game right now. You can right-click the hatchery. You can right-click the drones. You probably can do both things at the same time, but I don't think it's possible to lose this. Behind this, you could macro up. Blink is an interesting call. One that we don't see very often. This is something that Hero perhaps could play, but Hero always gets oracles as well. And he would already have a fort base done at this point if that was his actual plan. We get the Zealot attack. He actually runs it away. I like this attack. You know what? I thought this was gonna go terribly and he was gonna accidentally lose all the Zealots for free in the end. But it's actually ended up going pretty okay. Dealt a lot of damage to this hatchery. Ended up forcing these drones away from mining for a long while. Sure is floating a little bit of money behind this. But I mean, who hasn't floated 1200 minerals in there, you know, in their prime? I sure have. There's been many games where I've floated this much money. Do I like the fact that we're going up to 4 gases on 3 base? That we're playing a pure gateway unit army despite fighting a Roach Hydra type army? Yes, I don't actually like that very much. I also don't like the fact that there's no gases on our natural, despite it already being 7 minutes in the game, and the 4th Nexus also not being rushed out. Yes, that is not entirely brilliant, but honestly, I don't think it really matters. This game is so insanely over that losing this is going to be a bigger achievement than winning this. Because let's face it, there's 11 Hydras, 4 Roaches, without any upgrades, against a complete Protoss army that can be reinforced with a Prism, that has an upgrade, has a +2 on the way, with a Protoss player that is up 11 workers, actually up 2 upgrades right now, as +2 has finished as well. This game is literally unlosable at this point, okay? This is the time in a movie where the villain is so sure that he has won the game that he starts explaining his plan to the protagonist, okay? That is where we're currently at. Go to You Death currently is our villain. And the barcode is the protagonist. Now, Go to You Death could have done a million things here, okay? He could have scouted if there was a fort base. He could have tried teching into something else. He could have started building cannons because, let's face it, he's playing against a Zerg player that is stuck on 56 workers on 4 gases without any upgrades. Yes, this Zerg is all-inning. And what do you usually do against an all-in if you have better upgrades, more eco, and probably, does he have a robo? If a robo, also probably kind of superior tech already, You just defend, sit back, and the moment your opponent moves out, you counterattack with a prism or with a zealot warp in, a run by, towards their third base. There's no reason for you to attack into your opponent's all-in. Your opponent is about to all-in into you. All you need to do is receive it. You don't have to, get out there on the street, wave at him, and then fight him on the street. No, you have a superior position already. Let's just keep that position. No need to throw away all of your units. As that's pretty much what Go To You Death is doing here, and probably is also the only real way of potentially losing this game is by not capitalizing on the current lead, and just tacking into a superior unit that can never be countered, whether that would be the Disruptor, or Disruptor into Carrier, or Storm, or a Colossus even at this point, honestly. Like, literally anything would have been better than throwing away Stalkers into a Roach Hydra composition. But then again, I am not Go To You Death. This has actually been a very, very poor performance. But I am not worried at all. We're 72 workers. We're still upgrading, which actually Go To You Death has been doing extremely well, despite his poor early game build order in the first 2 minutes, despite his poor follow-up in minute 2 till 5, and then his garbage attack that he just managed to do. He did do a pretty decent job here with the upgrades, so I'm kind of happy about that, honestly. I feel good about these upgrades. +3, we have the glaives, I'm not so sure about. I've never seen glaives being useful in a late game, but still don't completely mind it. Do we have any minor harass being set up? Is there any scouting going on as to what our opponent could potentially be doing? We could be seeing the double hatchery in the main, maybe scout if there's a hive yet or not, and maybe you could see what type of units are being pumped out. I like the call here of a Robobay. I think Disruptor definitely counters everything that is out currently, and it's just a really, really good call. So despite all my earlier reservations, Go To You Death is still in a position where I'd say he has about a 95 to 98% chance of winning. I think if you were to give these positions to any pro gamers, I actually think the win rate for pros would be closer to 100% than to 99, now that I look at this. I mean, TOS is up 20 supply, has better upgrades, has complete map control, up in bases. There's literally nothing worse for the TOS in this current game. Except maybe the unit composition. Yeah. Okay, the TOS unit composition is really bad. 25 Zealots and 17 Stalkers. But the Zerg composition is honestly worse. There's like a freaking 14 Roaches. I just had it open. 14 Roaches and 15 Hydras. Like, that's not very good either. And I don't even really mind an attack here out of Go To You Death. But I would love for the attack to be multi-pronged. So 4 Zealots over here at the third base. Prism with 10 Zealots in the main base, and then you just kind of stand outside of this general area pretending to run up this ramp, and you're basically killing the bases and the drones of the opponent, and then wherever he sends the units, that is where you run away. So he goes into your main to deal with the Prism, you fly the Prism away. Goes to deal with your run by, you run the run by away. Goes to deal with your army, you run your army away, or you can fight in the middle in a good position. Like, you basically just want to be out on the map with the ability to run by, with the ability to kind of dance with your opponent's army, either with Disruptors, with Immortals, or just with, for all I care, Glaive Adepts. I don't like this as a run by, but I like this more than not having a run by. So if you shade in 10 Adepts the moment your opponent moves out, I'm okay with that move, my friend. I'm completely okay with that. What I'm not okay with is not tacking at all into something else, and then letting your opponent get up to some pretty vital units like Vipers and Lurkers. And in combination, these actually are kind of scary against the pure ground army. I'd like to get, well, most of the time I like to get just Storm Immortal, and if you're on the map, you're usually fine. But in some cases, getting carriers is a good call. So I like that we're seeing a Stargate transition here. Go To You Death is going for that Stargate transition and has the Adepts as well shading in. Look at that. 1 Lurker. Actually, this is like 5 Lurkers dealing with this. At the same time, we have a push here, so 1 run by got taken out. No Prism in the main base, which is definitely a mistake. Here comes the Viper without really any energy, though, so shouldn't be too big of an issue, but they have been spotted. Okay, this base is gonna end up dying, and you still leave a safe retreat for yourself. Purification Nova didn't really hit anything. Maybe not the end of the world, though. Okay, you've scouted now, you know what your opponent has. You can continue building Disruptors, you can warp in some Templar, while continuously going into Carrier. The one thing you shouldn't do here, Go To You Death, the one thing you shouldn't do is moving back completely home. It is so important that your opponent does not get the setup aggressively in front of your bases, okay? You need to see the Lurker army, my dear friend, as a tank army. How would you play against Tank Marine? How would you play against Tank Marine? If there's 35 tanks outside of your fort base, there's no way you're breaking that. Unless you have air units just unless you have air units. The way that you deal with that is by never letting it get to your base. And against tanks and lurkers, that is very possible because these units don't shoot unless they're siege. This time this lurker player doesn't even have seismic spines or adaptive talent, so neither of the lurker upgrades. And you also have the ability, of course, to transition into carriers, which is absolutely great. I wanna pull up a quote that I remember from the balance complaint. What did it say again? How can a single unit be able to dominate everything on the ground and be balanced? How can a single unit be able to dominate everything on the ground? This unit dominates everything on the ground, okay? Let's just keep that in mind here for a second. If a guy would come up to you and tell you that tomorrow, a 200 kilo absolute gorilla of a man, the best MMA fighter in the world, great at wrestling, great at standing fighting, a brilliant kickboxer, is going to beat you up. What are you going to do? Are you going to go home and think to yourself, let me train some MMA? No, of course not. You're not going to be able to compete with this gorilla of a man. What you do is you buy a gun and you shoot him. And that's what you should be doing here. If you truly believe that there's nothing that can compete with the lurker on the ground, then why in the world does your entire army consist of pure ground units? I don't necessarily agree with the premise, but if I were to agree with the premise that the lurker gets beaten by nothing on the ground, wouldn't it make sense for you to transition into carriers as quickly as you could, or into Tempest, or into Mass Void Ray, or any air unit, the moment you have the chance? The moment you scout your opponent has lurkers. You're showing me right now with your unwillingness to transition into air that you don't actually believe that this unit can be beaten on the ground. You think it can be beaten on the ground, but you just believe you're incapable, or you are just incapable. Because why else would you try? You've seen other people do it, so you know it's possible. Otherwise, why would you do that? If you truly believed what you said, you wouldn't be out here building zealots and more disruptors and going for ground upgrades. No, you'd be throwing down 5 more Stargates and pumping out carriers at a high pace. You're not a man that believes in your own worth. Someone that doesn't believe in their own worth. What can they believe, if not even themselves? Kevin the Koning, 2023. That's a quote. On one of these posters, you know the old meme templates that they used to make? When people had deep quotes? I want one of those. Why does no one make those for me? An editor never makes one for me. Unbelievable. Yeah, well, this is the one thing that I said shouldn't happen, is allowing your opponent to siege in between 3 vital bases with a powerful siege unit. Okay? The funny thing is that a lot of Protoss players, they complain about the lurker. What they don't realize is that this is us against Terran. If I position myself in between 3 Terran bases with 9 disruptors, which functions fairly similar as lurkers, I would absolutely destroy every single Terran. Unless they get like the perfect surround from 5 angles. And the same is here. The one thing you can do is come with a surround from 10 different angles, or you could have a unit that flies. A bird, perhaps a carrier that carries interceptors. A bunch of them. You could have had upgrades for them. Or you could have shot disruptors the moment your opponent was walking up this teeny tiny ramp. There was a lot of options here, but instead you decided to be out of position and not have an army that you believed in. You had an army that you didn't believe in. That's sad, my friend. That is sad. What is these drones doing? It's like backpacking drones, you know? It's like people that believe they've seen everything in their own country already, and they're going to some country far away to sleep in a cheap hostel and then explore the world. They could have done that in their own backyard as well. It would have been a lot cheaper. Could have just done it after school. But instead, they insisted on taking a gap year. These are the gap year drones. Look at them go. Mining from a faraway country. God, they're gonna have so many good Instagram pictures. This game is extremely over. I know some of you are getting upset that I'm looking at these drones. Some of you are getting upset because you guys took a gap year and it was some of the most meaningful experiences that you've ever had in your entire life. And now every year to recreate it, you take a faraway trip to a country for a week and a half. sleep in cheap hostels, but it never feels the same as when you were 18. This is your life now. You're one of these drones. Wake up, sheeple. Okay, I don't know what to say either. Like, this game is extremely over. These probes, I'm not quite sure what they're doing. I like that you had good upgrades. This is the one thing I can compliment you on, is that you had fairly good upgrades. Shield, armor, +3. And you had maximum upgrades. But you got upgrades for units that you don't believe in. You get one air upgrade. You know the Lurker is unbeatable on the ground. It's the perfect unit. The ultimate 200 kilogram gorilla of a human being with the greatest MMA fighting skills in the world. You're trying to fight with him by getting your own upgrades? No, you get air units. You get a sniper rifle. You shoot the guy. Pew. Should be practicing your archery. Your sword wielding. Cheat. Why would you fight this guy on even grounds? It makes no sense. Get a brain. Oh no. Well, your upgrades are not going to finish either. You know what I think that Go To You Death is doing right now? He's kind of like gaining the courage. He's gathering the courage to type out GG. You know, I've seen this happen before. People need to kind of charge up. You can sometimes see it in the eyes of a pro gamer before they're about to leave. They don't feel like it deserves a GG, but they know that if they don't GG, people are going to make fun of them forever. It's not even... Back in the day, people would say, oh, it's so bad manner. But nowadays, I think people just think it's a little bit sad if you don't have the emotional control to type out GG at the end of a game. You know, like, is this really what's going to get you? Like, a different fictional race that is slightly better than yours. This is what's going to get you to not type out the GG. Really? That's what makes you lose your emotional control? People cut in line all day at the supermarket, but there... Got your emotions in check. But then here, this is where it gets you. Unbelievable. You get made fun of forever. Never, if you're a pro gamer, leave without GG. It's a bad move. It's a bad move. Just like staying in this game is bad. I love that he's still blinking as well. I truly believe. It's like, man, I couldn't do it earlier when I had 35 more supply. And now that I'm down 130, this might be possible. Only have half a leg remaining, but gonna hit him real hard with it. Oh, he's still mining as well. Does type out the GG here. So I managed to gather that courage. And I appreciate that. I appreciate that Go To You that. What I don't appreciate is the fact that you didn't believe in your own words. You said lurkers are not honorable. And I hope everyone that wins like this feels bad. If lurkers are not honorable, why would you try to fight them on their terms? Why wouldn't you go into there? Why didn't you get your carriers? Why didn't you try the base trade? Why didn't you run away? Every move that you made in this game showed the intention that you wanted to fight straight on with the lurkers. You always engaged directly into lurker positions. You never went around. And you didn't go air. You didn't use the two best tools against the lurkers. You already knew. Everything I'm telling you right now, you already knew. You knew the lurker was unbeatable on the ground, according to you. Yet you didn't play like it. You played like you could beat it. And then you were surprised when you couldn't. How does that make any sense? You already knew you suck. You just needed the validation. I'm here to give you that validation, my friend. But you already knew that deep down. That you massively sucked. Stamp him, hamster. Alright, that's going to be it for today in this episode of Is It IMBA or Do I Suck? If you did enjoy this, don't forget to like, button, subscribe to the channel. Hopefully I'll see all of you next time for a new video. And yeah, that's going to be it for me today. Ciao, ciao. Oh, hit like. Smash the like button. That's good.